be an American where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
My experiences on the USO tours and performing for our nation's veterans have made me proud to be an American. Hi, I'm Lee Greenwood, and I'd like to invite you to share that pride by discovering For Veterans Only, an exciting public television program covering the events and issues that affect today's veteran. Each week, For Veterans Only shows you the real stories behind the headlines, factual reports on veterans' health care and legislation, unique features on the brave men and women who served our country, and exclusive coverage of veterans' issues like Agent Orange and homeless vets, along with informative updates on veterans' benefits. Coast to coast, no matter where the story is, For Veterans Only takes you there for a close-up view you'll get nowhere else. For Veterans Only, bringing America back home again.
God bless the USA.
If you live on the street, that environment kind of calls something out in you. It kind of produces a kind of a craziness. You join the madness because that's the only way to do it. When people come to Stand Down, they join Stand Down, and it brings out another side of people, a side that's also there.
Hundreds of homeless veterans got a break from the battle of life on the street in San Diego this summer. I'm Brian Patrick, and the story of Stand Down 89 is coming up this week on For Veterans Only.
For Veterans Only is made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, Washington, D.C. Additional funding has also been provided by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Cabinet for Human Resources, by AMVETS, a national veteran service organization, and by the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. The producers thank this station and other public television stations for their assistance in making this program available. For Veterans Only is also telecast by the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service for the benefit of the men and women serving on active duty in our armed forces at home and abroad.
For Veterans Only is a national television news magazine for America's veterans and a presentation of Veterans Productions USA. Reporting for Veterans Only is Jim Clay.
As we settle down in bed each night, hundreds of thousands of Americans prepare for another night on the streets. They are the homeless, and an estimated 30% are veterans. There is no solution to this problem, but as Brian Patrick reports from San Diego, the military stand-down concept is being applied to begin to break the cycle of homelessness.
Homeless American, you've fallen through the crack. Homeless American, what's left is on your back. All the dreams that you composed lie shattered and foreclosed. And so
when you're out in the streets, you sleep, but you sleep with one eye open. You see what I'm saying? And you might, like you too much drinking, you fall out somewhere and then you crash, right? And but you still, your ears are still open, and you say, oh man, or and that you can't really get a good sound sleep.
I just thank God they're young enough not to realize, that I'm messing up right now.
These homeless Americans have more in common than their homelessness. They're all veterans now struggling day by day to survive on the streets of the nation they served.
They are people who wore the uniform in a time of need, served this country, made it possible for all of us to enjoy our freedoms and enjoy the prosperity of this great economy of ours, and yet 165,000 of them have fallen between the chairs. People who wore the uniform.
The problem is common in cities across America. Here in San Diego, for the second year in a row, homeless veterans are finding help at Stand Down 89.
Most guys know what a stand down is. That's going from a time of intense readiness and combat alertness to one of rest and security and safety.
The #1 goal of Stand Down, sponsored by the Vietnam Veterans of San Diego, is immediate relief from homelessness.
Being homeless is a battle in and of itself, and it's very stressful. So this provides some relief from that. Secondarily, to provide them access to the wide range of services that we have on site, including legal, medical, social services, clothing, showers, haircuts, legal counseling, adjudication of court cases. And by virtue of that, we access those men to those services, they're liable to break out of that cycle of homelessness. Third, and perhaps just as important, is to raise our community and our nation's awareness of the issue of homelessness, and in particular the issue of homeless veterans.
More than 500 homeless veterans found their way to the grounds of San Diego High School in mid-July, willingly accepting the chance to break the isolation of their daily lives.
People on the street are isolated. It's really scary to be on the street. You don't feel safe most of the time. You feel like your goods are going to be ripped off. Somebody's going to knife you in the back. And so here, for a little while, they can put aside those issues of safety, those issues of fear that they have, and they can begin to trust.
Dr. John Natchinson coordinates the Stand Down program for Vietnam veterans of San Diego. Each homeless veteran is teamed with about 25 others in a tent which will become home for the weekend.
So the first thing that happens is people get into a support group, they meet other homeless veterans, they get to meet some mental health people from the community, and some peer counselors who are homeless veterans once themselves. Once they're involved, then I think we often have a better chance to encourage them to make use of legal, to make use of medical, to get involved with a vet center. It seems like motivation is a big part of it. And, you know, you can spread the table, but you can't make people eat. And so what we really try and do is create a program where people get motivated and they feel this is a great thing. I really want to be part of this.
Thousands of volunteers from more than 50 public and private agencies are here to reach out to these veterans.
It's the kind of event where people get to come and they get to do something positive. They get to see an immediate result of their work, and it makes us all feel good for being veterans. And it's what it's all about, veterans helping veterans. We look at this as a hand up, not a handout.
A haircut, a hot shower and a meal, a good night's sleep without having to look over your shoulder are things that we take for granted. But for these homeless veterans, this is a rare treat. It is an opportunity to break the cycle of loneliness that is their life from day to day.
It's awful. It's awful because there's really no place to stay. And if you don't have ID, you can't get hardly any services.
Well, I wasn't able to go look for a job because, you know, you got to have ID. And me being Hispanic, they always ask me, well, are you a United States citizen?
Ironically, identification is what many of these people lack. And cards issued by the Department of Veterans Affairs are very popular.
A lot of these street people, for various reasons, have lost or have had driver's license stolen from them, whatever. As they move about, they tend to lose these sorts of things, and personal ID cards are real important, essential for folks cashing welfare checks and applying for benefits and so forth. So
when the veterans register in, the computer system verifies their veteran status. They're then called by tents to the VA tent, and they're issued picture ID cards. And these things are fantastic. They verify the date of birth, and they measure them and weigh them, and it's a real ID card, and it's signed by the director of the VA that states the information on here is verified.
Because of their situation, many of these veterans have been cited by police, usually on a minor charge that compounds over time.
Take, for example, somebody that has been cited for illegal lodging, sleeping in a doorway, sleeping in the park. After a period of time, or when that person is cited, they're given something to appear at court. They don't appear at court for whatever reason, because, you know, safety, a safe place to sleep, a meal in their stomach are their priorities. They're not that concerned, or can't be that concerned, about making the 9 o'clock calendar call to get that result. When they don't show up, another citation, failure to appear. And it just compounds itself. Finally, there's a warrant outstanding for the arrest of the individual. It's compounded itself. Now they've got this huge problem where there was just one little one where you or I might have the ability to go down and take care of it. These folks weren't in a position to make that a priority for themselves.
At Stand Down, the San Diego Municipal Court comes to the people, offering them the opportunity to clear out this old baggage and make a new start.
It's over with. At least I got it out of the way, you know. I don't have to worry about they walking up to me and stuff and saying, we got a warrant, you're on the computer.
Ray Coffey will gladly work 20 hours of community service at the Salvation Army for a chance to begin again with a clean slate.
Because you don't never know when the police gonna come up and say, well, we got a warrant for your arrest, or you be in the street and be in something, they stop you and they say, well, we already got a warrant for you, and then you wind up in jail to do that time on these old tickets.
Homeless veterans appearing before Judge Mac Amos have been assured they will not be jailed. That's not to say they'll get off scot-free.
Well, depending on the defendant and the type of case, the person may need counseling, For mental or psychiatric problems, he may need help, so I would direct as far as obtaining employment. They're setting up what I call a volunteer bureau situation. Many of these people, if they plead guilty, they won't have money to pay fines. We've set up a situation where they can do volunteer work in lieu of the payment of fines, that type of thing.
Bob Brower is feeling a lot better after Judge Amos dropped the charges against him. They were minor, but still a roadblock to a better life.
Well, they were hanging over my head, all right. I couldn't get my driver's license or nothing like that, and now I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to go and get an abstract from the court and take it to the DMV and get my driver's license.
Think this might help to turn things around a little bit for you?
It should. Should help a lot.
Steve Watson feels pretty good about the fresh start that he can now make since the charges against him were dropped.
Well, I had a few misdemeanor charges. Just kind of hanging over your head, you know, trying to find work and such. It's just, you know, it's a bad situation, you know, and everything cleared up, you know, kind of new lease on life, you know.
About 90 attorneys with the San Diego Bar Association have volunteered their services, not only for this court, but for follow-up legal services that could help turn a life around.
These attorneys on these panels are capable of dealing with a variety of civil problems that these folks might deal with, whether it be spousal support, child custody issues, landlord-tenant, governmental benefits, bankruptcy issues, things like that. These attorneys are capable of helping these guys reach what the objective here is, that positive psychological atmosphere. When they leave here, not only have their medical wounds been tended, their psychological wounds been tended to, not only are they aware possibly of job opportunities and housing opportunities, but they get rid of some of that legal baggage that weighs them down on the streets and keeps pushing them down so they can't get up.
Everywhere you turn at Stand Down, homeless veterans are being offered a helping hand. Most of them are not looking for a handout.
They asked me if I wanted to go on that general relief program, but I leave that for the people that need it. You know, I can go to work.
George Brewster recently went back to work with a security firm, but ran into a roadblock.
They supply all of your uniform, but the shoes and the socks. So I've got some nice black shoes and socks this morning, 2 pairs.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Seems a small thing, but it's important, huh?
It is important when you're broke. I mean, I've only got maybe $30, $40. A pair of shoes could cost that.
When you're homeless and broke, food is a luxury. This kind of feast is unheard of. The veterans and their families who make it possible add caring and love to the food and drink.
My people have just rallied and just love it, as you can see. And all the food and everything is all donated, and we round up everything we possibly can, donation and whatnot. We contribute, each post contributes money for it, and we end up buying what we need to do. And we try to make these people as welcome as we can possibly do. This is our way of saying welcome home.
After a restful night and with a full stomach and clean clothes, there's even time for creativity at Stand Down. Julia Gale calls this the fun corner.
It's a chance to express themselves where someone's going to hear it. When they're out just trying to survive, who's listening? We've all become a little deaf to whether they're asking for change or food or just respect as a human being. I think we've become deaf and immune to it.
There's no shortage of people who are willing to listen at Stand Down. Dan Gautier, chopper pilot Johnny McKay on TV's Tour of Duty, finds it hard to believe so many veterans are homeless.
It's shocking, you know. It's amazing that that a country as great as ours would let that happen to people that serve our country for what we all believe in.
Dan likes mixing with these guys to learn more about their experience, especially from those who served in Vietnam.
Probably the most interesting thing to me coming to events like this, besides just the fact that I'm supporting the event, is to be able to talk to veterans and to find out more about the war, because of course I'm 25 years old right now, and it was way before my time. I was born in '63.
Even President Bush, himself a combat veteran, sent a message to Stand Down.
We Americans owe a lasting debt of gratitude to those who have defended the freedoms we cherish, and we must assist those who sacrificed for our country and are now homeless. The Department of Veterans Affairs is leading a comprehensive effort to combat homelessness, but while government support is necessary, private citizens such as you can do a great deal to assist our veterans. Stand Down 89 exemplifies the spirit of voluntary service that has always been our nation's greatest strength. Your generosity sends a message of love and concern that no federal program could match. I commend you for doing so much on behalf of homeless veterans.
It's been a good weekend for those here, the people who came looking for help and those offering it. When Operation Stand Down ends, what was started here will not. The real success of Stand Down will come with the ongoing effort to help these veterans fit back into society.
If you really want to do something about this problem, you have to commit yourself to it. Not every person you deal with is going to be a success story. Recognize that some of them are going to end up back on the streets again, but just keep that helping hand out. And eventually, I think we can overcome this problem if we really commit ourselves to it.
It's difficult to track people that have no address, but to the extent that we can, we're trying to keep them in the loop. It's like they've become part of the veteran community by joining us, and we want to keep them part.
They feel better again. They remember that they are veterans, that they did have proud service, that there are people that care about them, that really genuinely have some affection for them as human beings.
Homeless American, I'll help you when you're down. Homeless American, there's enough to go around. It's the least we can extend to our fellow countrymen. And so it goes.
What we want to do is follow up and make sure that once they come in here and commit themselves to do something about their problem, that we have the agencies standing by and ready after they leave Stand Down on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday to provide those services on a long-term basis and help them work their way out of this homeless syndrome.
To our veterans out on the street, our debt is overdue. You fought for freedom, surely I can find a place for you. Homeless American, I'll help you when you're down. Homeless American, there's enough to go around. It's the least we can extend to our fellow countrymen. And so it goes.
Because veterans' benefits are constantly changing, the Department of Veterans Affairs has prepared a special booklet entitled A Guide to Veterans' Benefits. For a free copy of this informative and timely publication, write to VA Hotline, Post Office Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. If you're experiencing a particular problem in qualifying for veterans' entitlements, the Department of Veterans Affairs will provide you with direct assistance. Address your correspondence to VA Hotline, Post Office Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201.
It is the largest coast-to-coast cycling fundraising event ever held in the United States. It took 47 days to cover more than 3,300 miles from Seattle, Washington to Atlantic City, New Jersey. And as you might expect, when it's for a good cause, there are a lot of veterans involved.
The Transamerica Bicycle Trek raised nearly $2 million to support the work of the American Lung Association. And every rider has raised at least $5,000 through pledges and donations. We caught up with them in Richmond, Indiana, and talked to the veterans involved about what motivates them.
It's just a personal goal to do this. It's also to help the American Lung Association. I firmly believe in the non-smoking efforts and the research for the lung cancer and all that they do for the lung diseases. So it's a way to fulfill a personal goal that I have and to help a very worthwhile organization.
I'd never seen small-town America, and I wanted to meet 300 other people who are interested in it. But the scenery, everywhere we've gone, has been different. It's been worthwhile, and I've enjoyed it all.
Adventure, challenge, and charity. That's the icing on the cake.
I like bike riding, and I love people, and I hope I've added a few friends to my my list already. And they're a great bunch of people.
One veteran took it upon himself to seek out others who had served their country in uniform.
I put up a sign-up sheet and I got over 30 people that were veterans, some of World War II and the Korean War, some of Vietnam War, and it was really exciting. I met with a lot of these people and talked to them about their experiences and found out that a lot of them feel good about being veterans and feel good about doing something else, like this bicycle trek.
One of the stops along the way was at the VA Medical Center in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
When we're out here this long, over this long an event, people are out away from their homes, you get a little dislocated. And when we come into a community like the VA Center in St. Cloud, where they make us feel at home, they make all the trekkers feel very special, it goes a long way toward taking care of that kind of homesickness and that folks are dealing with.
Cyclists range in age from 17 to 69. World War II veteran Lynn Fontaine considers it an honor to be the senior trekker.
I'm proud that I'm the oldest one. I'm 69. I understand last year they had a man that was 72.
With many hot days of pedaling still ahead, Lynn and the others have no doubt they'll finish.
If I come to within a mile of the finish line and I kind of conk out, I think I'll crawl on all fours.
Gonna make it.
To make sure that I'm gonna make, and I'll drag my bike along.
If I could do this, I could do anything. I survived Pearl Harbor. If I survive this, I'll be all set.
Tragedies shattered the upbeat mood of the trek just a few days earlier when cyclist Jeff Green was struck by a car and killed in northern Indiana.
That was a real shock. It was a real bummer, and I'm not sure we ever really will get over that. He was just really an upbeat guy, and it's just life's unfair sometimes.
But the veterans and their fellow cyclists pushed on with the support of one another.
With 300 people riding, you have, not everybody has a down day, not everybody has a good day, so people sort of help each other along the way. Whenever, if the heat's getting someone down, you stop and help, talk to them and, just keep plugging along.
We have established a community. We've gained strength from each other. Some days I have not had what it takes to go on, but somebody else came and gave me that extra what it takes to make it to the end of the day.
Those 47 days of endless miles, aches and pains, tears and smiles, will soon be but a memory, an experience to enrich the lives of those who join together to trek this great land from sea to shining sea.
The small towns, the cities, America, the oceans, the lakes, Minnesota, Montana's big pancakes.
The camaraderie, the esprit de corps that exists amongst the trekkers. I went to Seattle, 5 weeks ago, not knowing a single person on the trek. And it's just been a phenomenal experience to meet 300 people with a common goal, common cause, and become family.
It's just a wonderful feeling, and to be riding with these people, they accept me.
Everybody's got the different personalities and occupations, and it's nice just to talk with people and see what they do and how they live,
Great bunch of people. I think collecting for the Lung Association really weeds out a lot of people that wouldn't make it otherwise.
We want to keep this community together and to somehow go through life the way we're going through this, challenging ourselves every day, finding strength in each other, and making it happen. And we are making it happen.
Your comments and suggestions about our program are always appreciated. Many of our programs are produced as a direct result of letters received from our veteran viewers around the country. Write for Veterans Only, Post Office Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201.
Next week, we'll continue our coverage on homeless veterans with a special report from Mary Miller in Pittsburgh. Also, Dennis West visits a vet center in Houston, Texas. We'll have those stories and more next week on For Veterans Only. Until then, I'm Jim Clay. Thanks very much for joining us, leaving you with this thought. When you need someone to count on, you can always count on a veteran.
To our veterans out on the street, our debt is overdue. You fought for freedom, surely I can find a place for you. Homeless American, I'll help you when you're down. Homeless American, there's enough to go around. It's the least we can extend to our fellow countrymen. And so it goes. Homeless American, I'll help you when you're down. Homeless American, there's enough to go around. It's the least we can extend to our fellow countrymen. And so it goes. Homeless American, I'll help you when you're down. Homeless American, there's enough to go around. It's the least we can extend to our fellow countrymen.
A VHS copy of this or any For Veterans Only program is available for $19.95 plus $2.50 for postage and handling. To order, please specify subject matter and content of the program. Your VHS cassette can be obtained by sending a check or money order to Videotape, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. Or call area code 606-283-8170 for additional information. A transcript of this program can be obtained by sending $5 to Transcripts, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. Please specify subject matter and content of the program. That's Transcripts, care of For Veterans Only, P.O. Box 1777, Louisville, Kentucky 40201. For Veterans Only is made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, Washington, D.C. Additional funding has also been provided by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Cabinet for Human Resources, by AMVETS, a national veterans service organization, and by the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. The producers thank this station and other public television stations for their assistance in making this program available. For Veterans Only is also telecast by the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service for the benefit of the men and women serving on active duty in our armed forces at home and abroad.